Are you a Saskatchewan-based Métis entrepreneur looking to start or grow your business? Welcome to Make It Your Business with Victoria Gagné from the Clarence Campeau Development Fund, a recognized and successful business resource dedicated to guiding and supporting Métis entrepreneurs on their path to success. With a focus on the Métis community, we share our story and our clients' stories about starting their businesses and how we support them from start to finish. We also deliver innovative financial and professional advice to help you start and run a successful business. Join Victoria and her guests and gain an understanding of the services, programs, and support available for you. This podcast is powered by Proudmouth. Now on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Make It Your Business with Victoria Gagné of CCDF. Victoria, how are you?
I'm so good, Eric. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I'm super excited. You've got Dwight King on the podcast today. Dwight is a Métis entrepreneur from Local 31. Dwight is a retired professional hockey player and won 2 Stanley Cup championships with the Los Angeles Kings in 2012 and 2014. After retiring from his professional hockey career, Dwight moved back to his hometown of Meadow Lake to start the next chapter of his life, starting and running a small business, Kingdom Golf. With a new business comes new challenges and triumphs that Dwight looks forward to. I'm so excited to hear you guys' conversation today.
Oh, I'm so excited to have it. As we were thinking of podcast guests, I kept hearing so many great things about what Dwight's doing in Meadow Lake with Kingdom Golf and how exciting that is. And we thought it'd be great to have him on to share some of his perspectives on the transition into entrepreneurship, about moving home and Métis representation, whether that's in sport or in business. So thank you so much, Dwight, for coming on and being a guest on our podcast.
No problem. Thanks for the intro. Sounded very lovely, and I'm looking forward to the chat today.
Oh, great. So I think to get started, maybe just quickly, can we get you to maybe introduce what Kingdom Golf is and what the business you've started is?
Yeah, so essentially it's indoor simulators. So it's virtual golf. We have 3 bays here. So essentially winter is so long here in Saskatchewan, another avenue of sport or just activity in general for kids up to adults to get out, socialize, and be active. We also have a small kitchen, and we're licensed, so if you're having a function or anything like that, you can also use the facility.
Yeah, it's a great spot in Meadow Lake, and I've heard so many good things about it. I haven't had a chance to come up yet, but I'm hoping to this summer. So if you have any summer plans, you're heading out to the lake and Meadow Lake's on your stop, definitely stop in at Kingdom Golf. But I think, Dwight, to get started, I want to ask you a little bit about your professional hockey career and then also how that relates to entrepreneurship and business. So I'm kind of curious what you learned from playing hockey, whether that's, growing up or in the NHL in your professional career. How have you been able to apply those lessons to your time as an entrepreneur now?
Yeah, I think sport and business kind of go hand in hand, like you're saying. For myself personally, playing hockey from 5 all the way till just recently here, still playing leisurely, but competitive. I retired a year and a half ago now. So I think just the foundation of putting in time into your craft, if it is hockey for myself, for other people it's different things, but dedication of time is a big thing. And then the sacrifices of not just your own wants and needs in different areas, but people around you, your support cast. It is a pretty costly sport and time consuming sport. So you need good support cast and parents or family members that are willing to help you out and put you in successful situations along the way. So those are a couple big things I think that translate pretty well to hockey. And as far as like lessons wise that I've kind of learned is sport's a little easier because usually the circumstances aren't so drastic. I mean, you can win or lose a game with a bad decision, but that is sport anyway, so someone's going to lose. I think having that experience of going through failure and adversity in sport kind of helps you prepare for business. It's a little different when it's real life. Like sport is real life, but it's a little bit different in the aspect of you'll get another shot at it the next day. Whereas business decisions take a little more time, and you got to be a little more thorough in exactly what you want to do, so you don't put yourself in a situation where you're regretting, or you're looking back at something that maybe if you took a little time and processed it a little bit more, you'd have the favorable outcome. So that's one thing. But saying that, it's not obviously as drastic as I'm making it sound. I think sport allows you to be pretty even keel with your mentality, and that's something that I've tried to carry over, where no matter the situation or what's going on, you try to stay pretty level-headed so you can make your best decision going forward for whatever this scenario is.
Right. That's such a good lesson. I know I learned in sport, and I did not play anything near as competitive as you, but you always hear your coaches growing up talk about mental toughness and the ability, like you said, to stay even keeled in those tense situations, because like you said, when it's your business, it's your finances, it's your life, it's your livelihood on the line. So to be able to kind of stay calm and keep that perspective. And then I also love how you brought in keeping people around you. I always tell my clients at CCDF that I'm happy to be a sounding board for them if they just need someone else to bring them some other perspective, or just to listen, and how important that support system is. And I'm curious, have you leaned on the same support system, in your hockey career that you lean on for your business career, or has that support system shifted at all?
It's pretty similar. Obviously now, the only change is probably my wife is a bigger part of my life than when I was younger and going through the hockey process.
Yeah.
So, as you'd mentioned, you'd think my parents are obviously there. And they're like any parents. They're there for any aspect of life. Obviously, if things are tough or you have questions, they're always willing to bounce questions off. But the big one for me was kind of always my brother. If you're not familiar, he played in the NHL before me. He's 5 years older than I am. His name's DJ. So he kind of went through a similar path. Obviously, a little different type of hockey player than I was. But as far as knowing the process of achieving not just hockey, but life after hockey, right. I had kind of a really good role model in that aspect, where if I had any questions, he'd be the first one that I could probably bounce things off of. And then when it came to retirement for him, roughly 5 years before me too, he kind of went through that transition of figuring out what he wanted to do in his next phase in life. And he kind of went a route with a resort just north of town here. So another business venture, which allowed me to see from the outside of the time and the effort it takes, and just understanding everything you need to do and get things in order to set yourself up so you don't have to learn on the fly, as things can get pretty hectic in the first couple months of opening stuff up. And then going on from that, obviously, is my wife Lauren is a little more educated than I am. She's got a commerce degree, so as far as that side of the business, it's been pretty nice to have someone you can lean on and trust that it's not just me, essentially. We're a team now, and it's been pretty smooth. I mean, obviously we're learning, but it's overall, I think we're very happy with I believe it's roughly 6 months now that we've been open, so things are looking good.
Oh, so good to hear. And I love the perspective too on mentorship and you having your brother there, but someone who's kind of walked the road before you to give you that perspective, and maybe avoid some of the mistakes he's made, or, learn from his successes as well. And I love that I'm guessing you're a little closer to your support system now. But I'm kind of curious, once you retired from professional hockey, we've had this conversation where you could move anywhere. Like, you kind of have, you have this new transition and you decide, okay, where do I want to plant my roots now that I'm done my professional hockey career? So I'm curious from your perspective, why was it important, or why did you decide to move home to Meadow Lake after your hockey career? And why did you decide to start a business in Meadow Lake as a follow-up question?
Yeah, I think that kind of grew on me as I got older and realized the importance of family and support. Like I mentioned earlier, when I was younger, I thought about all the possibilities of obviously as a hockey player, you move cities quite often. So you think of all the possibilities where you could live, and you think you'd be content and happy. Just the more I played, the longer I played, and being away from home, I kind of realized I'm a pretty mellow person. I don't need too much as far as high pace lifestyle. So the summers is when I always came home, and I seemed to enjoy them. It was pretty relaxed. I have all my activities here that I do. I enjoy golfing in general, so we have a nice facility here. I grew up around horses, so we live out on an acreage. My brother has horses. My parents still have horses, so that was kind of my lifestyle growing up that I was accustomed to. And like I said, the good thing was I got to live the other half playing hockey, where I got to see the biggest cities in the world and live in them and experience that pace of life, essentially. But in the end, I just didn't think I would want to be always on the go. So the slower pace of life in the rural part of Saskatchewan is comfortable for me. And then obviously at the end here, now that I have 3 kids, Grace, George, and Gemma. My daughter, the oldest one, is 9 now, so she's getting older. So she was, I believe, I want to say 7, I guess, when we were playing my last year overseas.
Okay.
And she grew up around cousins, and obviously my brother, and I have 2 sisters also that are in between my brother and I that have children. So to see her enjoy coming back here and being around family like that is what I had growing up, and I didn't want to take that away from her. Being on the move so much for hockey. So I think, like I said, just seeing the similarities of my childhood and offering that to my kids was another little aspect of coming back here. And then the only one that was probably a little bit tough one was my wife. Obviously, she's from Victoria, so a city.
Oh, okay.
So an adjustment there, but we're out in the country. It's nice and quiet, and we're going on 13 years now. So I think we've made the adjustments and understand our lifestyle that we're living now.
Yeah, and it's beautiful country up there. I'm from the south, I'm from Regina, but I love Meadow Lake and the whole northwest of the province. It's gorgeous. So I'm sure your wife's adjusting well to the landscape.
Yeah, we traded in the ocean for fields, so we'll make do with that. And then to answer the second part of your question, our town's pretty small as far as activity and opportunity for leisure and just getting out. There's not a ton of options. Obviously, we're living here now, so we want to have an experience for everybody to be able to enjoy themselves in their off time and have another avenue to explore as well as socializing. So we think it'll only help get people out and about in the winter months. Obviously, summer is a little bit different with the weather, but so far so good. The feedback's good. The community's enjoyed it. The whole system that we got here is really responded well to the activity we had. So it's been good.
Oh, good. I love hearing other people's stories on why moving home is important to them or what led to that decision. And I see so many similarities, family is so important. And I know when I was young, my parents lived outside of Saskatchewan, and then they had my sister and I, and they decided the same like you, where they grew up around their cousins, and so they wanted to move home, and we grew up on the same street as our cousins, and how important that was. And for myself, I went to school outside of Saskatchewan as well, and when I was thinking about going home, I thought about just the opportunity that exists within Saskatchewan, and then also I love the idea of reciprocity, and these are our territories. They grew us, they formed us, and then being able to give back to them as well, like you're doing with starting this business in Meadow Lake that didn't exist before, and how there may be gaps within the community on what's available to people for recreation or whatever that looks like, but then how that's also opportunity for business. And you saw that with Kingdom Golf, and what's the response of the community been to the business?
Yeah, no, it's been pretty good. Like you said, it's nice to come back to the community, and you'd be able to look at it from the outside and say, okay, there's a couple things you could offer to the community you think that would be successful. Obviously, golf is my hobby and my activity of choice in the summer. So it's something I just truly enjoy. As far as having the technology available in the wintertime was something I'd probably have in my house either way, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty easy decision. And then as far as the community, I think from the turnout we've had, it's been really good. I think we have a pretty heavy golf membership here in our local course, so they've all kind of transitioned over, and essentially just found something that, like you said, get out, be active, but also socialize. And the winters get a little long here, so it's a nice little break.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we talked about how you have this support system of family at home, and you were able to kind of look to your older brother throughout your career as somewhat of a mentor, a role model, a sounding board. And I'm curious on your thoughts on representation. So whether it's in professional sports like hockey or in business, why do you think it's important for people to see Métis people represented and excelling in different types of industries? Like I love seeing Métis people excel in all different industries. And I think about my dad, for example. He has this, we joke with him because he has this hockey jersey he won at some like charity auction, right? And he wasn't super familiar with the player. And then when he Googled him, I can't remember who it was, but he found out he's Métis. And my dad's like, there's no way I'm getting rid of this jersey now. Like, it became so much more valuable to him, even though he had no connection to the player it was, because he was like, no, this is a Métis hockey player. He played, a couple decades before me, but in the same area I grew up in, and that connection just was so important to him, right? So I'm curious what you think about representation, whether it's sports, whether it's business. Why is it important to see Métis people take up and excel in different spaces?
No, I think it's good as long as, like you said, getting more success stories out there. As far as setting a precedent is important. Obviously, there's enough negative and other sorts of stereotypes that people fall back on when they think about certain cultures or groups of people in general. So, like you said, you take a little bit of pride. I think it's kind of one of our foundations, being Métis people. Is having pride in people succeeding in their ventures and being successful, no matter if it's sport or if it's business. You want to know that, I guess in simple words, one of us can put the time and effort and sacrifices into something and get the same results. There's nothing that should divide or separate any essential race or people in general that we can all achieve. If it's the same goal, the same outcome, and having people get to those high points in their lives are important, because, like you said, I have my brother. I'm sure my brother had somebody, if not First Nations, Métis, older than him, that he looked up to, that went through the same process, same steps that make you believe that it's doable in a sort of sense. So, but that's the cool thing about being a role model and having role models is knowing that obviously people have been around a long time on this earth, and the message is very similar from everybody who's gone through it, no matter what the topic is. There's time, there's effort, there's sacrifices, there's all these words that if you put forth all those, you'll leave yourself in a good spot to achieve what you're set out to do, or if not, it'll at least open your eyes to kind of what you need to do better. Because if it doesn't succeed the first time, it's not the end of the world. I'm sure there's a ton of people out there that have changed paths along the way, and in the end found success. If it wasn't their first, maybe their fifth try, and that's also important to know too.
Right, and you kind of touched on my next question, but we talked about your brother, but did you have any other examples of people you looked up to in your career? and what were the characteristics that you looked for in your role models? And they don't have to be Métis, but were there any people that you kind of looked to, and what characteristics did they embody? I know you mentioned a couple already, like perseverance and that grit of getting back at it when you fail. But I'm just curious if who other role models were.
As a hockey player, it's pretty simple. It's more about just the production on the ice. So I was a Colorado fan growing up. So Peter Forsberg was my favorite player. So I'm obviously at a young age here when I'm watching this. So as far as individual skill and craft work on the ice, you kind of watch that and pick up on things that maybe you can transition into your own game.
Yeah.
Off the ice, as far as mental fortitude and all these different things that you kind of learn by going through them. More so in my peers. I guess growing up, I've had a good group of friends that were all interested in hockey and ended up making it to junior levels. So I think it was important to have people around me with the same interest and drive. And then obviously different people go through different things as far as lessons and learning along the way. So not having to actually go through all the things individually, I think helped, where I could see if a certain person was in a different situation and what didn't and what did work, you could take away from it what you needed to, and then as having the person there as support too, is bouncing questions off and kind of sharing our information along the way, because essentially in the end we all wanted to get to the highest level of hockey we could at that point, and having that before obviously getting older and transitioning out of Meadow Lake and all that, I think it was important for myself.
I think that's so interesting too, because so much when we talk about mentorship, it's, someone who went before you, but also having a group of people who are going through the same things, like you said, where you can learn from each other's experiences, because, there's this collective experience, whether it's growing up in hockey or being an entrepreneur. There are collective experiences entrepreneurs face, and then there are also different ones people experience at different times and different struggles, different successes that you can learn from your peers. And I love that model. I think about Métis entrepreneurship in the province, and I really hope that we can continue to grow this collective sense of learning from each other. And I think that's something we're trying to do with this podcast, is because when one of us succeeds, right, we all succeed, and it elevates our communities, it elevates our businesses. And I just think that's such a great model of having peer role models and people who are walking the same path at the same time, not just the ones who are going before you, but also the ones who are experiencing the same path, but different obstacles. And so that kind of, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry for cutting you off. I was just going to agree with you. You're kind of nailing what I was thinking on my end.
No problem. And that kind of leads me into my next question, which is, what's a challenge you've experienced in business or in life, and how did you overcome that? We like to talk on this podcast about some of the challenges, so that someone, whoever's listening out there might hear something in your story that they say, hey, I'm going through the same thing, and here's someone who came out on the other side of it. So do you have anything to share on that front, on a challenge you've experienced and how you overcame it?
Yeah, I think I could kind of touch on both aspects of this, as far as my hockey career and now shortly after here in this golf simulator venture. So as far as hockey, I think the biggest thing for me, coming from a community where I said I don't plan on leaving, it's kind of the way I grew up. I am comfortable, and at a young age, if you want to be successful, you do have to move away from home to get opportunity and give yourself the best chance to succeed. For me, I was 15, and that was probably one of the bigger challenges, is just as far as obviously getting over being away from your parents and the people who took care of you for the first 15 years of your life, and put you in situations where they wanted you to succeed, and they wanted to do everything to get you in the right spots to have the opportunity. So going away was tough. Just figuring out how to stay busy, how to put your time towards, for me, hockey, so I could continue to get better. The one thing that did make it easier was I had a local teammate growing up that I mentioned. One of my peers played on the same team, so I was fortunate in that aspect where the biggest challenge kind of was assisted by my friend, my peer, going through the same process, which was nice, because then after that, obviously, you know how sports work, it just gets harder and tougher. The challenges, the adversities change, but kind of the decisions and the mental fortitude doesn't change going into those. You obviously adjust and make the best decision going forward. As far as business, honestly, we opened, like anything, we built the place here, so we knew the construction phase was going to be ups and downs and maybe little delays. So that what we were ready for. And this, as far as opening up, we kind of got hit with a big surge of business. So we were just trying to figure out how to delegate our time and how to make things as efficient as we could. Obviously, we're just a small business, so we don't have a ton of staff. It was my wife and I that one of us were here for long hours. So figuring out that, and then figuring out our options as far as what we're going to offer for services was kind of ad-libbed a little bit, or we learned as we went. Took a little while, maybe a month or two, but going through it now, we can look back and say, all right, maybe if we would have did things a little different there, did this different, things might have been a little smoother, but that's also just a part of life that if you don't go through it, you don't learn. So happy nothing too drastic came out of it, but it was quite the experience.
And so how did you find ways to make it more efficient? Like, what kind of things did you implement, or like, have you kind of found your groove in that aspect? I'm just curious for some of the entrepreneurs who might be thinking about opening, and it's so true, right? Like, it's like you get all this demand, and then it's like, you're not necessarily prepared for it. So do you have any advice for an entrepreneur who might be experiencing this influx of demand that they don't know how to deal with?
Yeah, I think it would be open to adjustments would be the biggest advice I would say. Obviously, right. It took me a little while to get used to the software itself, for the computer to be able to run it fluently and smooth. And then the other aspect of our business here, we have a small kitchen. Figuring out our menu and our staffed hours and exactly what we're offering was something that we got a grasp on now, but it took a little while to understand exactly what we wanted to offer as far as services. And that's just, I think, honestly, it's just going to adjust on where you live, your market, and your want and your needs of the community.
Yeah. No, that's so good. And it kind of ties back to, like the start of our conversation in terms of lessons learned from hockey and being adaptable and having that, I think that's such a good perspective for any entrepreneurs out there who might be listening, that, the ability to adjust, to be flexible, to have a plan, but to understand that there are fluctuations, and how do you be flexible? How do you adjust? And when you have those, small losses, how do you get back up and keep going? So I love how that ties into the start and the lessons learned in hockey as well. And then, we talked about challenges, but on this podcast, we also want to celebrate Métis success. We want to celebrate the successes of entrepreneurs. So to end things off, what is a win you've experienced lately, either in business or in life, that we can be celebrating with you? Like we said, we're just coming up on half a year here. I think we got a really good grasp on exactly what we're going to provide for our community, and that alone is a success in my eyes. And other than that, there's a good
really
win.
Not a lot else going on. This was our focus, obviously, coming into this year, and things are looking good.
Oh, fantastic to hear. So if anybody is in Meadow Lake, look up Kingdom Golf. Dwight, how can they follow you? How can they follow your business? What's the what's the best way? Do you have a Facebook page, Instagram? Where can people find the business?
Yeah, as of now, we just have obviously a Facebook. Facebook is big up here, so it's just Kingdom Golf Inc. I've searched it up. Obviously, you'll get a hold of us on there. We have our email and our phone number. And going forth, obviously, we're probably add to our advertisement. But essentially, if you go to Facebook and type that in, or else, like I said, just call our phone number, which is 639-669-0266. We'll always be there too.
Perfect. Well, I highly encourage anyone, if you have any events coming up in Meadow Lake, reach out to Kingdom Golf. Check it out if you're on the way to the lake or anything like that. It's great, and we're so excited for you and your wife and the success you guys are going to experience in this business. So congratulations, and thank you so much for the discussion today. I really appreciated it. But there's one thing I can't let you get away with yet, because they're launching this and we're in the middle of the NHL playoffs. Who do you have winning the Stanley Cup this year?
I have the Avalanche winning because it was my childhood team, and I think they're the strongest team. But I have a pretty good Oiler roots in me now that I'm back in northern Saskatchewan.
Yes.
So I'm also hoping Edmonton. But either way, Edmonton or Calgary, whoever comes out of that series, it will be exciting to watch. But my second pick would be the Oilers.
Okay, perfect. I love to hear it. My dad is from North Battleford, and so I was raised an Oiler fan as well. My uncle's an Avalanche fan, so we're in good company here.
Right on.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dwight, for sharing some of your life experiences, your perspective, your wisdom with us today. It was such a good conversation, and I just really appreciate you taking some time to share with us here. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me, and thanks for making it really easy on me with the discussion today. It was nice.
Perfect.
Dwight, I just want to echo thank you so much for being on the show. This was a fantastic podcast. And of course, Victoria, thank you for facilitating this and bringing him on as a guest. You did a great job with the interview, and boy, I really enjoyed listening to that. So thank you. And of course, our last thank you goes to you, listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Make It Your Business podcast with Victoria Gagné. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Victoria comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it really easy to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at CCDF, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Make It Your Business, the podcast that identifies market opportunities and provides Saskatchewan-based Métis entrepreneurs with innovative financing and business advice. Have questions about topics covered during the show? Visit www.clarencecampo.com. Email us at info@clarencecampo.com or give us a call at 306-657-4870. Don't forget to click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the hosts and/or guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Clarence Campo Development Fund. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor, accountant, or other qualified business service providers with any questions you may have regarding your individual situation.